Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. I am here with Peggy, and we are talking all about you already know what you seek. This sounds so mysterious. This is going to be so much fun. For those of you that don't know me, I am Sabrina Victoria. I am the host here at her talk show. If you have not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. This podcast is guaranteed to have you thinking differently about life and business. Let's jump right in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Hello, if you are listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. We have had over 600 women grace this stage. We are adding another one to the list today. Peggy O'Neal has coached leaders and entrepreneurs throughout the world for more than 35 years after practicing law for 12, is a certified integral master coach, holds a Juris Doctor from the University of Arkansas, and worked in President Clinton's administration. Integrating wisdom, teaching, and science, Peggy helps people free themselves from the illusion of separation that keeps them limited and live truly authentic lives. I just love this. Helps people free themselves from the illusion of separation.
Correct.
What does this mean? I just
So,
love this.
yeah, wonderful. Yeah. So thank you for having me. Love your enthusiasm. So excited to be here. Love enthusiasm and sharing it throughout the world. And I'm so happy to be with you and your guests. So the illusion of separation, that comes from the great wisdom traditions, as you mentioned in introducing me, that have been around for 3,000 years or so, that we've been taught through all the great religions. Wisdom teachings all say the same thing. And science also for the last 100 years has been telling us the same thing, that we're actually one being. Most of us think that we're separate beings, we're separate from each other. But because we've been taught that, we've been conditioned to believe that I'm over here and you're over there, and that everything is separate from us. And then out of that, we have this sense of lack and need and not enough. And yet that's an illusion, because who we truly are is one. We are source. We are spirit. We're awareness, consciousness. The religious phrase is God's infinite being. So we are actually one, and it's an illusion. And again, that illusion is what causes us to have conflict within ourselves, to suffer, causes conflict within families and organizations. It's why actually we're not as successful as we want to be. Because, as I said, if we feel separate, then there feels like there's something missing. There's something I need to go get or accomplish so that I'll feel better. And that actually takes us further away from our ability to be successful, because we keep looking out there for that fulfillment. And when we can feel that fulfillment, remove that illusion, remove that belief in separation, then we're wide open and we feel abundant, and we know we're whole and complete and feel really accomplished, and that sense of presence that really supports us to be very successful in business, if we want to be successful in business.
I know you talk about your coaching, 20 years of coaching, and really feeling this feeling of disillusioned, because no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't figure out how to be happy, even though you had like a life on paper that looked beautiful. How did you navigate that? What was the journey like for that?
Yeah, like you say, I'd been coaching for about 20 years after practicing law for 12, and I had worked with President Clinton, so like you said, on paper, should have been great. I lived in Healdsburg, California, wine country, beautiful. But I was miserable. and I thought I can't, and I had my own business, and I thought I can't continue to market and tell people, oh, I can help you have a great life and enjoy your life when I'm miserable. That something was really missing, and when I should have known how. That's what coaching is about. How do I help people have the lives they want? And so I did. I walked away from my business in 2007, shut it down, and moved all my belongings to where my mom lived in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Luckily, got a job in Singapore, went to work for a training company over there. But that journey went on for about 11 years of this sense of just something's missing, this struggle to feel happy, to feel like I had my place in the world. Like, what am I up to? What how do I really express this or do the work that I want to do? There's just something off. There's just that sense of offness. It's off. And but then I came across the works of Rupert Spira, is the book I read, Being Aware of Being Aware by Rupert Spira. And as I read that book, I went, oh, this is what I was looking for. And I didn't even at that point realize I was looking for anything. I'd sort of thought this must be how it is. Maybe someday I'll be happy. Maybe someday I'll be fulfilled, because I was doing everything one is supposed to do, engage in the practices, take the courses, do the work. And so, but once I read the book, I went, oh, that's what's missing. And what was missing is the title of our time together today, that we already are what we seek. I'd been looking for it out there. Oh, someday I'll take the right course, read the right book, have a different coach, whatever. Somewhere, someday I'll find it. But the opportunity is to turn around and know, oh, whatever it is I'm seeking, that sense of emptiness is actually grace. It's an invitation, inviting me to turn around and explore that feeling. That longing is actually the invitation to turn around to where the source of the pain is, the longing, the suffering, because that's the same place what we're looking for is. And so as I started working with being with myself consistently with these wisdom traditions, and it's often called non-duality, the non-dual understanding of who we truly are, that's when things really started shifting dramatically for me. But it was about 11 years of just, so that's why I do the work that I do now. I call it wisdomary leading, because it's because it's embracing this understanding and leading our lives from the truth, the reality of these wisdom teachings that have, again, been around for 3,000 years. They're right there for us. Science is the same thing. We're one. There's nothing to search for. There's nothing to go after. And it's in that knowing, not in an intellectual sense, but knowing in our heart, knowing in our being, that then things start shifting and we start relating to ourselves and other people and our lives differently, and live more in accepting, allowing space. So then we're not resisting life, which keeps things as that it is or pushes things further away. And it's the allowing, open, loving energy that actually helps us live the lives we've really always been wanting to live.
Wow. So this saying of like, let me go off and sell all of my belongings to go find myself.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. No, in fact, I had a client several years ago. He was a lawyer he was a partner. Well, he was a shareholder in a law firm, one of the founders of the law firm. And as we were doing this work together, that's one of the first things he said, am I going to want to go live in a yurt? And then somebody told me not long ago they didn't know what a yurt was, but a yurt's like a tent, out in the wilderness, and you're all alone. You don't have anything. You give it all away. No. In fact, you probably if a teacher tells you that, you want to go away from a teacher that says that. No, there's nothing in the teachings that says we have to give everything away, go on that kind of search at all, again, because it's all already right here. So I don't have to change myself. I don't have to improve myself. I don't have to better myself. I don't have to give everything away. No, it's already right here. And I mean, somebody might want to at some point, but it just feels like, well, you know what? I want to give everything away. I haven't given everything away. I do not plan to give everything away. I live in a very nice home, very nice clothes. I'm not doing that. At
Oh, I
least not
love
now.
it.
It's never come to me to do anything like that. But no, that's a misunderstanding. But I appreciate you saying that, because I do think that's probably a big hurdle for people. If I really explore these sorts of teachings that are often called spiritual, but to me, they're not spiritual at all, because it's the nature of reality that we're one being. And the definition of spiritual is separation. The spirit separate from matter. So to me, spiritual is actually inconsistent with these teachings, because it creates separation. And
Wait, say that again. Say all of that again.
yeah, so sometimes people think this conversation that we're engaging in is a spiritual conversation. But it's not, from my perspective, because it's the nature of reality that, again, wisdom traditions have been telling us, science tells us that we're all one being. The reason it's not spiritual is because if we look up the definition of spiritual, it says spirit is separate from matter. And spiritual is the study of spirit. Well, by definition, that doesn't make sense, because the definition of spiritual involves division, spirit separate from matter. And what the traditions tell us is there's no separation. Spirit and matter are the same thing. We are actually we're made of spirit, or other words are consciousness, awareness, infinite wisdom, infinite intelligence. That's who we are. That's what we're made of. We are made of consciousness, spirit. I'm repeating myself now, but we're made of that, and we express that. Now, we might express it with a sense of separation. We might express it out of fear and lack. But once we understand who we truly are and those beliefs start fading, then we're more freely. So back to being free. Now we're more free to live more fully what feels more natural for me, how I really want to be in the world and express, and what I want to create, and what comes to me to create. So yes, to me, this is not a spiritual conversation at all. It's reality.
Wow, so interesting. I absolutely love this, and I've never heard this before.
Mm.
And you're saying this is science.
Yeah, so science for now a little over 100 years has been telling us that we're all intimately entangled. We're one. In fact, there's an article. Well, I guess it was printed last fall, but scientific article that that we're all. Let's see. Oh, I might get this wrong, but anyway, I'll say that we're one big movement. We're all, we could think about, now this is Peggy's wording, this is not in the scientific article. Sometimes I like to refer to it as we're all one big stew. We're all influencing. If we think about it, so this can seem like real esoteric, but if we just pause for a minute, we can think about it, that, oh yes, everything is always influencing me. Like right now, we're being influenced by this conversation. And Dane is saying yes. So he's being influenced, and he's influencing our conversation because I just interacted with that. And so if we watch the news or we go outside and it's kind of chilly, we were just influenced by something. So we're always influencing and being influenced by everything. So we're like one big soup. And so we can actually, because this is the way to break through, if you will, this veil, this illusion, is to do self-inquiry. And what does that mean? It means look, just like I just proposed that we look and go, oh yeah, how could I be separate from anything? Because everything's always influencing me. I can look at a plant across the room and feel, the beauty of the plant that just influenced me, or the light. If it's light in the room, I'm going to have a different energy than if it's dark in the room. And watch a movie or read an article or have a conversation or so we start really examining. It's called self-inquiry, the nature of reality. Oh, anyway, but you asked me 100 years. So yeah, but there's a scientific article out last fall that described it that way. There's one movement happening. There's just one flowing movement. And there's a hum. That was what the article is about, that there's a hum. We're all part of this hum, this orchestra hum. So there's no separation in the universe from us or from anything. And I mean, another way to look at it, the self-inquiry route again is like right now, again, what I said a few minutes ago, that you're over there, I'm over here, it seems like. But if we look at our experience, there's no separation, because I see you, but where do I see you? In my experience, I see you here. I hear you here. I've been conditioned to think I'm hearing you out of the computer and seeing you on the screen. But if I look in my experience, it's right here. So we can notice that, oh, I can't separate myself from my experience of anything.
Wow. You cannot separate yourself from your experience
Of anything or anyone.
of any.
I mean, think about, I mean, when you're with another person, there's no way to, there's not like I'm kind of experiencing Bob for a few minutes, and then there's a few inches, and then there's a blank space, and then there's Bob showing up again. There's no separation. We're connected from the get-go, and we're connected right now to everything. Again, but we've been conditioned to believe we're separate, so that's why it's challenging for people. But self-inquiry again is the way to break through that, by looking, examining for ourselves. Yeah, I can't separate myself from my experience of anything. I mean, if I see the light, see the light. Anyway, I've got a lamp right here. If I see the lamp, then I see it here. It's in my experience. If I didn't experience seeing the lamp, then the lamp wouldn't exist for me. But anyway, so science,
Wow.
yes, telling us this too.
I also really appreciate you talking about how a lot of times this conversation is seen as spiritual. And I would agree with that. I feel like, like I said, I've interviewed, over 600 women. And when there are women here talking about spirituality being one, it has always been talked about as two separate things. And that might be a contradiction with what I just said there, but it's also very woo. It's very like not, it's different. It's a different level than like the human experience. You have to like up level. So I really appreciate what you're saying here, because you're saying you don't have to do anything.
There's nothing to change. If we say that we've got to change something, we're making something wrong. And how can it be wrong? It exists.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to change. And technically, there's nothing to do something like improve, develop. But if we get curious, then we will look, we'll look. And so there's something to do, but not like a practice, not to try to get somewhere, but because we get curious. Oh, do I want to know who I truly am and what the nature of reality is? And maybe experience this one experience, or yes, it's a curiosity that keeps us going in this direction. But so yeah, technically there's not because if we try to do something to get somewhere, it actually takes us further away, because then we think we're going to get there someday, when actually we already are there. So this approach is called the direct path. And borrowing from Rupert Spira, if I said to you right now, or any of your listeners, if I said, stand up right now and take a step toward yourself, what would you do? Yeah, you can't, because we're already right here. So that's why there's nothing to do. And yet there might seem like there's some things to do, like self-inquiry, but not like a practice or trying to change ourselves. There's nothing to change. There's nothing to develop.
take a step towards yourself. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, because you can't. We're already here, and that's why seeking can take us further away from ourselves, because we're trying to get to some place or see something about ourselves or know something like it's over there or in the future, and yet we already are what we seek: the wholeness, the peace, the love, the abundance. Most of us again have been conditioned. Gosh, watch any TV show with all the commercials, and what are we conditioned to do, or what we're told, the message over and over and over and over it again is, go get this and then you'll be happy. Go get this and then you'll find love. Go get this and then you'll, and so we're so conditioned to think, oh yeah, I've got to do something. I got to get better. I got to improve myself. I'm not good enough right now. And all of that is suffering. And the suffering is caused because we don't know who we truly are. We think there's something wrong with us, judging ourselves, judging other people.
Wow. Absolutely great stuff.
Okay.
We have a ton of people watching live right now. They're obviously
Okay,
resonating with what you're saying. I would love for you to talk a little bit on what are the steps? I mean, is it really just as simple as, okay, Peggy said, I'm good. So, like, I'm good. And then we just keep doing the same thing over and over again in our lives and could sometimes still be miserable. Like, what are a couple of things that somebody should do in order to really step into this mindset of really understanding this fully?
Mhm. The first step, again, because of our conditioning, is going to be to read a book or two. So that book I mentioned a while ago, Rupert Spira, Being Aware of Being Aware. A woman named Catherine Van Oothuizen has written a book. She's written two books. I can't remember the name of the one right now, but she talks about the illusion and the scientists that. So it's a scientific explanation that it's an illusion that we're separation. But somebody can look up Catherine Van Oothuizen. I think it's called The Six Illusions, or maybe that's the subtitle, Six Illusions or Six something. But anyway, so those books would get one started. There are tons of great books, and there are tons of videos on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, so I do videos on this on my own YouTube channel. So people could listen to those, or to people that are more. I bring it more in a coaching model, and a guiding model, and a business related model or approach and conversation. But they're non-dual teachers. So Rupert Spira, Francis Lucille. So there are tons of videos. But the reason we usually have to read something first or watch some videos is because this belief in a separate self, which is actually a belief, but it's consistent enough that it needs education. It's got to be somewhat brought along that there's a possibility that I'm not separate. And so we typically have to start by reading something. Then after that, it would be this self-inquiry approach to where you start. I mean, some great questions. One is just, which is ubiquitous in this work, but who am I? And just being with the who am I, or what am I? Or a great side component of that is, on whose behalf am I experiencing this, or thinking this, or believing this? So those are some ways. And then, what was I? Then another one, which is incredibly powerful, while at the same time extremely challenging, is to not believe any thoughts we have about ourselves or other people.
Any thoughts?
Any thoughts. So we'll notice thought, and so another inquiry is to first notice where, and people can do this right now. It's very simple. So people can notice a thought. You can notice, and then ask yourself, where did that thought come from? in my experience. Now, our rational mind is going to say, well, it came from my brain because we've been educated that that's where the thought comes from. But if we look in our experience, where's that thought come from? We can't find where it comes from. So we start, and we do that over and over again, and it starts sinking in with us. This is self-inquiry because we're examining what's actually happening in our experience. Then we realize that since I don't know the source of these thoughts, they just come out of nowhere. So there's no real reason to believe them. They're just arbitrary coming to me. Now, they may be ones I'm used to thinking because are used to paying attention to, because I've been paying attention to them my whole life. So that's why we identify with our thoughts. We think we're our thoughts. So we believe them and we pay attention to them. But any thoughts that are self-referencing, like I'm good at this, I'm bad at this, I shouldn't do this, I should do that. You were horrible in that conversation, or you all that. We don't need to pay any attention to that, because that is a belief in a separate self. Because what we're actually doing is expressing consciousness. There's nothing to judge. There's nothing to feel bad about. All that does is cause suffering. The belief that there's a separate self doing something or could have done something differently. So we don't need to believe any self-referencing thoughts. Now, I want to make a distinction here because it gets a little
wonky.
Wonky because of language. Some nuances here. So of course we want to believe a thought if we're standing in the middle of the street and the thought comes to us, oh, this car is about to hit me. Okay, we want to pay attention to that kind of thought. Or a thought that kind of has a different flavor to it, if you will, but the kind of thought that's like an intuitive thought, like, oh, where'd that idea come from? That was pretty good. That just has a different flavor to it. It's not self-referencing. It's like this, some sort of idea that comes to you, or creative, maybe a nudge, like, oh, I mean, we've all had this. I should call Sally right now. I think I will. So I'm not talking about those kinds of thoughts, those nudges, those creativity, intuition. Those are great. What I'm talking about are the self-referencing, that it's about me and how I did, or the same with somebody else. Now, of course, if you're going to hire somebody, you do have to make assessments about whether you think they're good at the job. So I'm not referencing that either. What I'm talking about is, so there are times to assess somebody relative to a job or some other requirement.
Dating, relationship.
Exactly. Yeah. But we're often going through life like, oh, they shouldn't have done that. God, they're bad at that. We've got this constant conversation going that keeps us separate, because when we're judging other people or judging ourselves, then we can feel ashamed or not wanting to be seen, sad, all those sorts of things. And so that can keep us separate. And I said sad, so that was an incorrect place to put that. But it's when we're judging ourselves, judging other people, it keeps us separate. And so we don't need to pay any attention to that. But that's one of the best gifts that we can give ourselves. So I've said, read some books, do some self-inquiry along the lines we talked, like just the next thought. Where's this thought coming from? Can't find it. Now, and one other thing I'll offer, it's a great simple meditation where somebody can close their eyes and then just get connected with their body, just pay attention to their body, the energy in the body and the feeling in the body. And then they can set aside the memory of the body, and then notice with their eyes closed, they can't find an edge to their body. With our eyes closed, in our experience, we can't find an edge to our body. So the value of that is that we also start having this physical experience of oneness. It's kind of, people can get kind of freaked out, kind of like, wow, I've never had noticed that before. With our eyes closed, we blend right in. We can and experience that. So those would be Oh, and then not listen to thoughts. So those are about 3 or 4 or 5 things to do there. What do you think? Is that a good
Yeah,
start?
I absolutely love that, and I'm really resonating with not believing any thoughts we have about ourselves, and the reason why is probably 4 or 5 years ago, I came across the concept of, um, not compliments.
Mm,
So if you if I take on a compliment and it means so much to me and hold it dear, and then I also take negative things that
mm,
are said to me and hold on to it and take it in so dear. The negative ones can really hurt somebody
mm,
mentally and emotionally, like crumble
mm,
somebody, get them to stop, get them to not move forward, get them to break.
mm,
So the idea is to not take the good or the bad.
nice.
Just other people's opinions don't matter just ever.
Yep. Yeah.
'Cause you can't, like, just take the good and let that and
Mm,
then
yeah.
ignore the bad. It's either you accept people's opinions or you don't accept people's opinions.
Mm,
Like, you either do or you don't. So,
mm,
years ago, I just sat and I was like, "You know what? That I get that, and I can
mm,
do that. I can just turn that off." So, I view negative and positive, feedback or stuff
mhm,
that's said
mhm.
to me the same. It's just neutral. It's just words that are
That's
being
great.
said to me. And I've
Perfect.
actually successfully done that to the
Awesome.
point of, like, I'm so it's like I'm so balanced, it's almost eerie.
Hmm.
Even my fiancé will say stuff sometimes, like, somebody will compliment just something that I'm doing in my business or how I look or whatever, and it doesn't change me. I don't
Mm,
heighten the way that I am or stand or facial expressions or anything. It's just
mm,
words that are being said to me. So I can totally do this, and I'm actually
mm,
gonna take that on as a challenge as far as also my thoughts about
mm,
myself.
mhm.
That's like the next level, like you gave me the next assignment.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so
Really, you're
much.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, I would love for you while we still have a bunch of people hanging on here, I would love for you to talk a little bit about, exactly who you are, what you do, who should be reaching out to you, who should be trying to contact you, who should be following you, who do you help?
Well, anybody that feels resonates with this conversation that is thinking, um, yeah, I'd really like to know who I am and to live my life fully aligned with my heart, and be able to really listen to what I'm called to do and how I want to live. And so anybody that feels sort of stuck in their life, I typically work with professionals that have been probably they're in their mid 50s or older that are already very successful and they're really feeling that sense of, but there's something missing. I mean, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I'm already highly successful, accomplished everything, have a family, but something's missing. So people that
Yeah.
feel like there's something missing in their lives, and all kinds of professionals, people, executives, lawyers, and any professional. Um, and what we do is we do this sort of work and bring in other what you could call more practical things when people are leaders in organizations. Sometimes there are other skills that they don't have because I've been coaching leaders and executives for so long that naturally comes in. But so that and then people that you know I think we're all such incredible, magnificent beings. So somebody that's like, darn it, my life is fine, but I want to really, really, I'm repeating myself, but really want to express myself fully. I want to break free. I feel like I'm trapped. I want to break free in my life, whether it's be in my job differently or get a different job or start a business, or I really want to know who I am, what I'm up to, and express it fully. So somebody that's experiencing that, as I go around in circles, that's what I say. And then people can find me. Is that what you asked me? How to find me? Or yeah. So I'd love for people to go to my website, Peggy-O'Neal, ONEAL.com, and they can sign up for my newsletter where I write weekly articles about this topic with something to do in each article. I mean, it's a practical article every week. And go to LinkedIn, find out more about me. I post almost daily, 5 days a week on LinkedIn, as well as on Facebook, and I'm easy to find on Facebook. And I have the YouTube channel. And and people can email me. My email's it's Peggy@Peggy-O'Neal.com. Email me, and love to have a conversation with somebody that's interested in seeing how this would work for their lives. And if I'm not the right person, then I help guide them to the right source for them, an appropriate source for them.
Beautiful. I love it. This has been so enlightening. I so appreciate you taking some time out of your day to sit, give some value. I know that so many individuals got some really great insight on this, and will continue, on the replays. This has been phenomenal. I appreciate you so much. For those of you resonating with Peggy and all the goodness that she shared today, make sure to check out her website. Like she said, Peggy-O'Neal.com. It is in a clickable link in the description wherever you're watching us at. So make sure you find that, save that, click that, sign up for her newsletter. LinkedIn is where she hangs out the most, at Peggy O'Neal. Get this girl in your feed. I mean, this is the type of stuff that we need to have, while we're scrolling aimlessly on social media, that we need to have, in our world, in our community, within an arm's length of making sure that we're making the pivots that we need to make to lead, a more vibrant, healthy life. And this information is priceless for sure. Any closing thoughts, Peggy, as we wrap up?
Just going with what you were talking about there, there's just such potential for humanity and the world as we know who we truly are, and quit. And in that process, then we stop living as if we're separate. That what so many of us want in the world, peace, happiness, love, fulfillment, meaning, purpose, belonging, all of that is available as we remove this illusion that we're separate and start experiencing. So it's not positive thinking, or we really start experiencing and knowing, and just knowing we're not separate. And we experience such freedom and aliveness and connection with other people. And so I just wish that for everybody, however anybody pursues that. There are lots of resources out there, me included, but lots of resources and opportunities. And so I'm so happy to be able to share this with your listeners and viewers, and with so many people, because there's so much happening in the world. We see so much falling apart, and I'm concerned about that. Others are concerned about it. And yet it's just the perfect time when things fall apart. They're not going so well, rather than doom and gloom about it, to go, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to rise up, for me to see what really wants to emerge right now. Something is inviting us to some other possibility with all of this breaking up. And so to really invite people to listen to their hearts, trust that, and to step forward for as they listen to their hearts and step forward to have the lives that they truly want.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Peggy. This brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of her talk show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for inspiring us all. To our dedicated listeners, thank you for staying with us until the very end. Remember to follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to uplift each other by having conversations just like this one. Until next